According to Jacobs in 1995, grammar refers to the whole system and structure of language or languages in general. This system usually consists of sentence structure and study of words, including inflection and sometimes also sound patterns and meaning. In grammar, we have the level of grammatical structures. The first one is phonetic level, which is the lowest, followed by phonology, vocabulary, grammar, syntax, and lastly, which is the highest, is the semantics. We have also the major components in grammar, such as the syntax, lexicon, and semantics. Lastly, we have the types of grammar, which are the mental grammar, descriptive grammar, and prescriptive grammar.
And as mentioned by the previous presenter, there are three types of grammar. The first type is the mental grammar. Mental grammar refers to the rules and principles that native speakers use to produce and understand their language. And these rules and principles are almost all acquired in childhood and are in the heads of every native speakers. This is what we call the generative grammar that is stored inside our brains that allows us to create and form words into sentences to produce language that other speakers can understand. And lastly, no one knows the precise form of a mental grammar. Why? It is because it cannot be observed. It is performed or done inside our heads. Not unless if you are a mind reader or you have the ability to read people's mind. But what can be observed is the output of a mental grammar. That is when a speaker utters the words and formed it into sentences.
Descriptive grammar is a set of rules about language based on how it is actually used. In a descriptive grammar, there is no right or wrong language. Here are some of the examples of descriptive grammar. It's me instead of it is I. I'm going to try and help the victim instead of I'm going to try to help the victim. These utterances are acceptable in descriptive grammar, and the reasons are the following. First, the approach to grammar is concerned with describing the use of language by native or non-native speakers without reference to proposed norms of correctness or advocacy rules based on such norms. Second, it takes the principle that language usage can vary according to varied speakers. Thus, it does not consider what is correct. Lastly, rules are made according to the daily usage of the language by the speakers. This simply implies that descriptive grammar assumes that the only authority for what exists in a language is what its native or non-native speakers accept and understand.
Prescriptive grammar. Prescriptive grammar is an approach to grammar that is concerned with establishing norms of correct usage and formulating rules based on the norms to be followed by the users of the language. Prescriptive approach has principle that the usage of correct grammar is based by the rules that was established by the native speakers and the variations are incorrect. The prescriptive approach was taken by influential linguists or grammarians in 18th century. In today's time, prescriptive grammar is often used in professional circumstances. One of the well-known example for the rules are: one, you must not end a sentence with a preposition. Example is, with whom did you go, instead of whom did you go with. As you can see, we changed the structure to make sure that the preposition with was not at the end of the sentence, just to confide with the prescriptive approach. Second is, you must not split the infinitive. So, for example, to go boldly instead of using to boldly go. Next is, a sentence must not commence with a conjunction. One of the common ways that the conjunction is used is commencing a sentence with and but. It's not much of a big deal in casual conversation, but it is required in prescriptive grammar. Example for that is, and me and my family have to be corrected to my family and I.
Syntax is one of the three major components of grammar. It deals with the words, phrases, grammatical principles, and units in a sentence. There are three theories of syntax, which are the binding theory, case theory, and X-bar theory.
So in today's discussion, we are going to discuss three theories of syntax. So the first one, we have the binding theory. The binding theory is concerned with ascribing the conditions on the structural relations between nouns. So in binding theory, there are three types of nouns. The first one, we have the R expression. Under R expression is the proper nouns and common nouns. The second one, we have the pronoun. Under pronoun are she, him, we, they, it, and so on. The third one, we have the anaphora or the anaphor. Under anaphor is the suffix self, which are himself, herself, itself, themselves, and so on. If you're wondering why there are three types of noun in the binding theory, well, that is because not only do they differ semantically or what they refer to, but they also differ in syntactic distribution. And out of the three types of nouns, only one of them gets its meaning from an actual object or person in the real world. While pronoun, on the other end, gets its meaning by either referring to something or to something that is already mentioned in the same sentence. For example, Peter said that he was tired. The pronoun he in the sentence refers back to something within the same sentence, which is Peter. Now, anaphora or anaphor differs because it has to mention or it has to be there to refer something within the same sentence. For example, Peter saw himself on the mirror. The anaphora himself refers back to Peter. We could also say that he saw himself on the mirror. The anaphora himself refers back to something in the same sentence, which is the pronoun he. And notice that an anaphora or anaphor can refer back to an R expression or a pronoun as long as it is in the same sentence. Now let's look at this next example. Peter is my friend. Please give the book to himself. Is the sentence grammatical or ungrammatical? The answer is the sentence is ungrammatical. Why? That is because the anaphora himself needs to refer back to something within the same sentence. But in our example, the only thing that we can try to refer the anaphora himself to is outside in another clause or sentence. Therefore, the sentence is ungrammatical. Now, we've been using the word, or we've been mentioning the word something to refer what a pronoun refers back to and to what an anaphora refers back to. What is this something that you are referring to? Well, this something is called the antecedent. The antecedent is a noun phrase that gives its meaning to a pronoun or an anaphora. For example, Peter hid himself, and Peter said that he was tired. In this example, the anaphora himself comes from or gets its meaning from Peter. So Peter is the antecedent. The same thing goes with the pronoun. The pronoun he comes from or gets its meaning from Peter. But how about in this next example? Laurie told Joe that he was tired. What does he refer to or gets its meaning from? Looking at the example, there are two potential noun phrases that the pronoun he can refer back. Joe is a noun phrase, and Laurie is also a noun phrase. So how do we know which one the pronoun he refers back to? Is it Joe or is it Laurie? So the way to get the right antecedent is by a process known as indexing or indexation. And basically it means that we are going to give a noun phrase an index or a code. Say so for example, Laurie told Joe that he was tired. Laurie is a noun phrase, so let's give it an index, which is the small letter I. Joe is also a noun phrase, therefore we are going to give it an index, which is the small letter J. Now, he is also a noun phrase that is looking for an antecedent. Which one should the pronoun he refer back to? Is it Laurie or is it Joe? The correct answer is Laurie. Now we are going to give the noun phrase he the same index as Laurie. And as you notice, the pronoun he gets the small letter I index just like Laurie. That way, we can be sure that the pronoun he can only refer back to Laurie and does not refer back to Joe. Again, that's the process known as indexing or indexation.
Now, to further understand the binding theory, let's move to the principles of binding theory. But first, let's discuss the binding domain. So the binding domain refers to the smallest TP or tense phrase that consists of a noun phrase or NP. As you can see in the example, Jean saw herself. So the tense phrase consists of a noun phrase and a verb phrase. And the circle represents the binding domain. So it means that it is within or inside the sentence or clause. Now, a small recap again in the binding theory. The binding theory describes the conditions and the structural relations between nouns. And the nouns involved are R expression, pronoun, and anaphors or anaphora. Now, the binding theory consists of three principles, which are principle A, principle B, and principle C. So our first principle, which is principle A, is concerned with the anaphora. It says that an anaphora must be bound in its binding domain or the same clause as its antecedent. As you can see in the example, Jean saw herself. Jean has an indexation, which is the small letter I, and the anaphora has also an indexation, which is the small letter I. It means that they are co-indexed or connected. Therefore, the anaphora herself is referred to Jean. In other words, the anaphora needs to attach itself to something within the binding domain for it to have meaning. So, the anaphora and the antecedent should be in the same sentence or within the binding domain. Our second principle, which is principle B, which is concerned with a pronoun, it says that a pronoun must be free in its binding domain or the same clause as its antecedent. For our example, it says that Jean bunked her. Jean has an index, which is the small letter I, and the pronoun her has an index, which is the small letter J. As you can see, they are not connected, or this is the opposite as the principle A. They are not connected with the same indexation, and therefore, the pronoun her is referred to someone else and not Jean. The third principle, which is principle C, is concerned with the R expression, and it says that an R expression must be free. So for our example, Venti told Jean that he was tired. So Venti has an index, which is the small letter I, and Jean has also an index, which is the small letter J. And the pronoun he has the same index as Venti, which is the small letter I. But in this case, the noun phrase, which is Venti, does not need to be bounded to anything in order to have meaning, although the pronoun he is bounded to it. And same applies to Jean. This is because Venti and Jean already has a meaning in the real world or the outside of the sentence. However, the pronoun he needs to be bounded to its antecedent Venti in order to have meaning.
Case theory deals with a special property that all noun phrases are assumed to have. If they lack this feature, the sentence which contains the phrase is rendered ungrammatical. Case theory is a theory of the government and binding framework and its successors. There are two cases that are generally recognized in English: the nominative case and the accusative case, also called the objective case. So what are some examples of nominative subjects? Well, pronouns like I, you, he, she, and they. Compare that to objects which gets accusative case like me, you, him, her, and them. But we can see that it's just regular nouns, and they don't make a difference whether they're nominative or accusative. They appear the same to us, and it's only our pronouns that change. So we can say that I as subject and love me as an object. But we can say something like me love I because our nominative and accusative are mixed up. Before I proceed to the nominative case that is assigned by tense, I would like to introduce some examples of various syntactic categories. As we can see in the table, there are three columns. The first column is the symbol, and the second column is the equivalent name of the symbol, and the third column are the examples of each symbol. The symbol N means noun, and the examples are dog, cat, boy, girl, and book. The symbol N means noun, and the examples are boy, girl, dog, cat, and house. The symbol PN means proper names, and the examples are Eta, Pip, Lex, and Paul. The symbol VO means intransitive verbs, and the examples are walks, runs, and sleep. The symbol V1 means transitive verbs, and the examples are loves, kisses, and owns. The symbol DIT means determiner, and the examples are the, every, and some. The symbol pro means pronoun, and the examples are he, she, and it. The symbol A means adjective, and the examples are angry, happy, and sad. The symbol P means preposition, and the examples are with, of, and behind. The symbol C means conjunction, and the examples are and, although, and but. Well, in this table are some examples of phrases. NP means noun phrase, VP means verb phrase, AP means adjective phrase, DP means tense phrase, DP means determiner's phrase, and PP means prepositional phrase. Here we have the nominative case which assigned by T. The T refers to what we call tense, and it is a phrase that is seen in the narrative accounts as headed by a unit and characteristically realized by a tense inflection. T has a nominative case, and it gives case to what word is in the specifier of TP to the thing in DP. As what you can see, we have our word I. This is I eat, and it's located in the spec of VP and DP position. So this is an agent, and an agent refers to a participant which the meaning of the verb specifies as doing or causing something, possibly intentionally. So this agent has a tetrarol right now, and it serves as a determinant for representing syntactic argument structure. However, it doesn't have a case yet. And what do we have here is just a first person singular pronoun, and it needs a case. So how do we get a case? Well, we need to move up to spec TP, and now this becomes I. Now let's take a look at this I in spec DP, and it assigns a nominative case. So this is how it becomes I and not me. We can get me it because me is accusative case, but it's getting a nominative case from T. This is the reason why we have the movement from spec VP to spec TP with our subjects because it has to get the theta role from the verb and it gets the case from the head of T. Now, how do we get accusative case? Accusative case is assigned from the verb, and the sister of V gets accusative case. So we have here the sentence, he loves her. So he starts out as a specifier of VP to get the theta role from loves, and then in order to get the nominative case, it moves up to spec TP where T gives nominative case. Now, this he has nominative case from T while her is the object. Accusative case is on V and it assigns ACC to its sister. Now, her has accusative case and we can say that this case is now licensed by V. Nominative case is licensed by T while accusative case is licensed by V. So here's nominative and accusative case. There's also what we call prep case, and this is assigned in the complements. For instance, some verbs are they transitive. It refers to take both a direct and indirect object. We haven't taken a look at the transitive structure yet, but essentially we could say gave a pencil to John. We said earlier that all DPs needs case, so John gave a pencil to me, but it just appears as prepositional case. Well, the accusative case is on verb and it assigns the accusative case to the sister of V. Just a reminder, prepositional phrase don't get case. Only our determiners phrase and noun phrase are getting case. So the accusative case from the verb to the TP pencil, the direct and then our indirect object. The DP inside is getting case from the prepositional head. This brings us to the case filter hypothesis. Now we have theta roles that are now on her trees, and we have a case that was in her trees. So there's a lot of different ways for trees to fail, and ungrammatical trees do not succeed in the derivation because there's too many components. First thing, all DPs must get case. So every DP in our tree must get case whether it's accusative case, prepositional case, or it's an adjunct. If a DP does not have a case, then there's a crash. Now, let's consider the example sentence below. I ate the potatoes, the carrots. Well, I is getting the nominative case from T. Then potatoes gets the accusative case from the verb, while the carrots here has nothing to give a case. So this sentence is ungrammatical and the reasons are the following. First, 8 only has 2 theta roles. This is the agent and here we have the team, the potatoes. So carrots doesn't get a theta role and it also doesn't get a case. And it can crash because of either reason.
X-bar theory. X-bar theory was developed in 1970s to design phrase structure in a more theoretical sound way. It was first presented by Chomsky and was extensively developed by Jack Candoff. X-bar theory makes the claim that every single phrase and every single sentence in the mental grammar of every single human language has the same core organization. It is a component of linguistic theory which attempts to identify syntactic features presumably common to all those human languages. First of all, let us look at the structure of the phrase. The top level of this structure is called the phrase level, and the bottom level of this structure is called the head level. The head determine the XP or the phrase. So, if the head is a noun, then the XP will be a noun phrase, abbreviated as NP. If the head is a verb, then the XP will be a verb phrase, abbreviated as BP. And if the head is a preposition, then the XP will be a prepositional phrase, abbreviated as PP. And if the head is an adjective, then the XP will be an adjective phrase abbreviated as AP. What about the middle level? Well, it is called the bar level. As we can see here, there is a specifier, an adjunct, and a complement. Although not in every situation a diagram consists of specifier, adjunct, and complement all at once. Specifier, it specifies something or it gives us more information about the head that it modifies. Specifier could be a determiner or degree, and specifier is a daughter of the phrase level and sister to X bar level. Adjunct, adjunct is a word or phrase that modifies the head, but it is optional, so it does not make a sentence ungrammatical if they are removed from the diagram. Adjunct is the daughter of the bars and sister of bars. Finally, we have the complement. Complement is a word or phrase that tells us something specific about the head that it modifies. It is necessary to complete the meaning. Complements is daughter to the X bar level and sister to the X level. Let us identify what is a specifier, an adjunct, and a complement. Specifier, as already discussed, it specifies something or gives us more information about the head that it modifies. Specifier could be a degree or a determiner. Examples here are the encircled words. The plane is a noun phrase, so again, the specifiers specify the head. So in this case, the determiner, the, specified the plane, which is a noun. The determiner is the daughter of the NP and sister to the N bar, and plane is the head noun, so another example is very happy. It is an adjective phrase. Under the AP, we have a degree, which is a specifier because it specifies someone is. Degree is the daughter of the verb phrase and sister to the A bar, and happy is the head of the adjective phrase. Swiftly jumped. Swiftly jumped is a verb phrase. Swiftly is the determiner because it specifies the verb jump. Under the adverb phrase, we have swiftly. As you can see, I didn't put the A bar level and A level. I just simply put the triangle. Because with the triangle, we can assume that this A bar level and A level are inside the triangle. So our specifier is the sister of the B bar level and jump is the head. Adjunct, again, is a word or phrase that amplifies or modifies the head, but it is optional, so it does not make a sentence ungrammatical if they are removed from the diagram. The underlined words are the adjunct. They give extra information or modify the meaning. The big cat, it is a noun phrase. The is the determiner, the specifier of the head. Determiner is the daughter of the NP and sister of the N bar. Big is an adjunct. It gives us extra information. Big is an adjective. Adjective phrase is a daughter of the bar level as well as the sister of the bar level. Cat is a noun as well as the head of the phrase. Walk at night. It is a verb phrase because walk is a verb as well as the head, and at night is the adjunct. It gave us more information about the head. In this case, we don't have a specifier. So from BP, we move to B bar level. Walk is the head of the phrase. At night is a prepositional phrase. It is a daughter of the B bar level and sister of B bar level. From prepositional phrase, we move to the P bar and P level. So at is the head of prepositional phrase and NP is a complement. Next is woman with flu. Again, we don't have a specifier. With flu is an adjunct, it will be the daughter of the N bar and sister of the N bar. Woman is the head noun. With is the head of prepositional phrase, and flu is the complement, and it is the head noun. At the hospital. At the hospital is a prepositional phrase. The hospital is the complement, and at is the object of preposition. We don't have a determiner, so we will go straight to the P bar. The complement is going to be the daughter of a bar and sister of the head. The head is the preposition at. The hospital is going to be the complement of at. We have this noun phrase for the hospital. Under the noun phrase is the determiner the. It is the sister to the N bar level. Finally, hospital is the head noun of the noun phrase. Map of Wessex. Again, complement is necessary to complete the meaning. So if we just put map of, it doesn't make sense. But if we add Wessex, then it will have sense. Map, a noun, is the head of the phrase, so it is a noun phrase, and Wessex is the complement. Again, map is the head, and of Wessex is the complement. Of is the head of prepositional phrase. Again, we can't just put map of, it doesn't make sense. We had to add something, and that something is the complement. In this case, it is the Wessex. Drink the alcohol. This is a verb phrase because drink is the head. The soda is the complement of drink. Therefore, it will be the sister of the NP and daughter of B bar. The is the determiner, so it is the sister of the N bar and daughter of the NP.
Alcohol
Is the head of the noun phrase. Let's see the example where we use both complements and adjunct in a sentence. The house of president with a ghostly legend. Of president is a complement because it is the object of preposition, and this complete the sense of the meaning of the sentence. With a ghostly legend is the adjunct because it's an extra information. It modifies or amplifies the meaning of the sentence. A complement has to appear first in the order to keep the same meaning. We cannot exchange the positions of adjunct and complements when they are both used in a phrase. But if you only have adjuncts, adjuncts can swap their order and not change the meaning of the sentence. In this case, the house with a ghostly legend of president does not have the same meaning because in this example, the adjunct is flipped with a complement. So now the president complements the legend or modifies the legend, and it does not have the same meaning. So again, a complement has to appear first in order to keep the same meaning, and we cannot exchange positions of adjunct and complements. The house of president with a ghostly legend. It is a noun phrase. The is the specifier, daughter of NP and sister to N bar level. With a ghostly legend is going to be the daughter of the N bar and sister of the N bar because it is an adjunct. House is the head. Complements are going to be the daughter of the N bar and sister of the head. Of is the head of preposition. President is the complement of. Adjuncts. With is the head of preposition. It has to be with something to prove a sense, so that's the ghostly legend. A is a determiner, daughter to the NP and sister to the N bar. Ghostly is an adjective that modifies or amplifies legend, which means ghostly is an adjunct. Ghostly is going to be the sister of the N bar and daughter of the N bar. Ghostly and legend is the head of the noun phrase. That's all. Thank you.
the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other